Hi, I'm Nico. Welcome back to the channel and to another episode of how to make a YouTube video without showing you how messy my office is. So in today's video, we're gonna look over a shoot that I did a couple of weeks ago, and I'm gonna try to break down my thought process for on-location portrait assignments. Sorry about the noise. So I did not shoot any video on that shoot because I was busy and focused, but I thought I could walk you through my contact sheets and all the pictures I made and try to comment on my thought process. So the assignment is portraits of musicians a year after their last concert. It's March 2021, so it's a year after the last live performances. Everything has been cancelled for a year because of COVID-19, so I'm meeting a musician at their home and trying to capture that vibe, that feeling of I haven't really been able to do my job in a year. So I get to the guy's place and immediately I know it's gonna be the living room. He lived in a rather small apartment. It was a kitchen, a bedroom and a living room. And I wasn't going to shoot in his bedroom, and the kitchen had nothing special in terms of storytelling, in terms of clues as to who the person is. Visually the kitchen was very ordinary, so it had to be living room, which obviously carries a lot of that guy's personality and taste and lifestyle. So I know him a little. His name is Hans, so we sat down and had a cup of tea. I found that I always love if there's time to kind of sit down and chat with the subject before taking the picture. It really helps to establish a rapport and kind of give a relaxed and slow rhythm to the shoot rather than arrive, ignore them, don't say anything while I install all my lights and stuff, and then like, okay, we're shooting, and then they're gonna be like. So be a human being around people you want to photograph. So he sat down, I sat down, the camera's on my lap, I lifted to take this picture. I have a 24mm on. And it's very nice, there's lights coming in, you see the piano in the background, those huge speaker and the LP player. I look at my screen and I really like the composition. I think the sofa is really ugly, but it's a nice diagonal line. And I think if I can have him in the middle of the frame where the light is the strongest, and I'm gonna have a big contrast between his dark hair, his face, and the strong light on the window and the wall. So I ask him to sit there and I make an available light exposure. And I think it works. Like, this is what I'm looking for. Like I said, he's in the point of most contrast in the frame. The sofa makes a really nice leading line to him. Same with the light projections on the wall and the picture frames and the frame of the window, all those lines pointing at him. So I take another exposure with settings exposure for his face, so I can actually show him on the screen and he can see himself. So at this point I show him the screen and I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be it. This is what the final picture is gonna look like. You're gonna be there, the composition is gonna be that. So then I ask him to move his bass into the shot, because he's a bass player in a number of bands and a session musician, so I wanted the bass in there. Also, it's such a massive present and it's a beautiful object and a great way to vignette and close the frame on the bottom left, so we put the bass here. It's nice, it's decent, but I brought light stands, and I want to have a picture that really works in one exposure and the dynamic range is controlled. Also, it's a portrait, so I want light on his face. So first thing I set up is a beauty dish with a grid, and it's on at camera left, right next to the base, just outside of frame and pointed straight at his face. Why the grid? So the light coming out of the beauty dish doesn't spill to the side and doesn't overexpose the base or the wall. To keep that light from hitting the base and the wall, I have to use a grid and focus the light straight ahead to his face. So you can see now there's nice drama, it's pretty cool. And that's when I noticed that the plant on the right hand side of the frame is casting a big shadow. It's really betraying that I'm using artificial light, and I like to be discreet, you know, I like to make my lighting very natural feeling. So I decided to set up another light at camera right way in the background to kind of fill that shadow on the wall from the plant. Meanwhile, while I was setting up that light and that stand, he got bored and grabbed his bass, and at this point he's playing along with the record that's playing. It was really nice. You can see that, yeah, so the light I set up doesn't do much, fills the shadows a little bit, but doesn't kill that shadow, and kind of makes a point of brightness in the background that's a bit distracting. So I decided to put a green gel on it to dim it a little bit. It's a speedlight shooting on a white umbrella, by the way, so it has a very wide spill of the white umbrella. I like to use very soft field lights. I'm using gel. It's something that I thought about ahead of time. I brought a bunch of gels to this shoot because the story is about live music and missing live music. So I thought, hey, without being too on the nose, if I can bring some colored light into these pictures, I can evoke live music and kind of give a vibe that they're home, but they're fantasizing about being on stage. So here we are with our green fill. The plant now is given so much importance, and I found that the trick was to move it away from the wall to blur the shadow that it projects a little bit. I also dimmed down my green light and adjusted things a little bit further. This is a different angle. I left this one in so you can see the reflection of my beauty dish in the poster. So you see what I'm using to light. So now we're pretty good. You see that I got rid of the stool and all the mess that was in that part of the frame. I pushed the plant, pulled even further from the wall, so now the shadow is very diffuse and blurry. It's very nice. But that's when I'm realizing that the base and the bottom left of my frame are very dark. So I decided to introduce a third light to use as fill. Here it is. So as you can see, it's gelled in red. This is a speedlight with no modifier, very close to camera access. You can see the shadow it projects of the base on the wall, so you can see it's very close to camera access. And it's red to again give that vibe of live music setting. So now I have a picture that's starting to look pretty good. I think at this point I asked him to drop the bass because that was a bit too obvious, too many musical instruments in the frame, and get back to choosing LPs to show that if you can't perform, maybe you're gonna listen to music instead. Yeah, now I'm getting pretty close to my final picture. You can see that I put a bunch of LP covers next to him to hide that sofa, which I didn't like, but I needed the line. So now I found another way to manifest that line. If you look in the reflection on the poster in the background right side, you can see the reflection of my speedlight that I'm using for fill. So now I'm pretty much set. You can see that I've made one last adjustment to my exposure and I'm no longer blowing up the highlights outside. And this is pretty much my final picture. Normally I would work on a tripod, but I had no assistant for that shoot and I was already carrying so much gear, 3 light stands, 3 strobes, modifiers. So I skipped the tripod and I thought I would be like more spontaneous and shoot handheld. I'm using a Nikon Z7, by the way, with a 24 f1.4 millimeter lens. And I think this is all shot at f4. So there's depth of field all the way through the image basically, except maybe the trees in the distant background. So now I'm just working with him to get the right expression. We're trying like to look a bit sad, a bit distressed, but we don't want to look miserable either. And I think that's the final picture that I used. You can see that I adjusted my angle to get rid of the reflection of the red light in the poster. And I think I moved the red field light a little bit to make the shadow of the base as discreet as possible. This is the final picture as I delivered it with all adjustments done. So I liked this picture, saw it on my camera screen and I was pretty happy. I showed him, he was pretty happy. So Once that is done, you feel safe and you're like, oh, okay, let's get alternates, let's get more picture. But you have the picture that you've been assigned to make. So I try to have him sit at the piano. I try to keep so he sat at the piano, and I try to keep the beauty dish as a main, but you can see it doesn't work at all. It feels way too lit completely against the window. So I dropped that and instead put my white umbrella to camera right, basically 90 degrees from the piano. It's coming completely from the side. You can see that from the shadow of the lamp. And you can see I'm using a white umbrella because of the reflection in the poster on camera left. So this was a bit too late, like I'm completely killing the vibe of the light coming in through the window. So I'm just gonna adjust my settings. Yeah, this is getting better, and I think this is the final exposure I choose to use. So you can see it's very natural, it doesn't feel that lit, but that light coming in from the right hand side is really gonna help me wrap around. Because if you see it in that chair now, it's completely backlit. So by having that umbrella right outside of the frame to his right, I'm bringing back some of that light without betraying that this is artificially lit. This could be another window in the room. This could be any number of things. Whereas when I was using the beauty dish on the first test picture, this was like so obvious that light 180 degrees coming from the window and from the beauty dish were completely unnatural. So he came back and sat down. I switched to a 50mm to try to get closer to him and get more emotion in the shot. I did not like it. It felt too minimalist. There's not enough storytelling in those pictures. It's just a guy at a piano. I want to get more elements in the frame to just tell more things. It's the same way as if you're telling a story. How much detail are you going to tell? I feel like this 50mm picture is a one-liner. A guy sitting at a piano with a bowl of cornflakes. But on the 24mm picture, there's much more. It's a guy at home, next to his LP players, posters on the wall, sitting at a piano with a bowl of cornflakes. Like, you've just made the story a bit richer. So this is nice. We just rolled a little bit. I let him have his breakfast. Then I asked him to noodle on the piano a little bit. These are okay pictures. Now I shut down my pocket without on the camera to shoot available light only for a couple of pictures. I thought it was making nice, more dramatic pictures, so I like this one. And then I turned the flashback on so you can see the difference. So we're just rolling. You can see that I'm trying to get the church in the background in the frame. That was my main concern, because he has a very nice view in this apartment, and I kind of fell in love with it and I wanted to show it. But you can see that from that angle, I'm completely losing the poster on the left-hand side of the frame, because you just can't see a reflection of my light source, which is never nice. So the rest of the shoot, I'm trying to basically vary angles to not show my light, but show more of the outside. In this frame, I asked him to replicate the emotion of the poster. So I would have those two smiling faces at two opposite sides of the frame. And then he went back to his normal face, which was a bit too dramatic. Here we're getting very close. Yeah, this is the last picture. You can see I got parts of the church in there, which managed to make work. And I got the poster properly lit and without any reflections on it. And it is lit very neatly. You can see 3 zones on his face. The main light, the umbrella, lighting the right hand side of his face from camera perspective. Then the center of his face is not lit by anything and goes pretty dark. And then the left hand side of his face, camera left, is lit by the reflection of the sunlight on the wall. So we get a really nice 3D impression with a very complex light, which is super nice from such a simple setup of one light, one umbrella. So in the end, I have a variety of pictures from this shoot. I have some natural lights, a bit more dramatic black and white stuff. I have the hero shot, the double page, very nice picture, very constructed. And I have this nice little vignette that doesn't feel lit, that looks very natural, but is very cool and has a lot of stuff going on. So so that was it. I think the whole thing took about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, with the first half hour being just me and him having tea and chatting. And then the actual shoot probably took about an hour with a bunch of breaks. I hope this was informative. I hope this was inspiring. I have 2 videos coming up that are a bit work intensive. That's why I wanted to post something quick and simple in the meanwhile, so you guys don't forget about me. The next thing I'm going to do this weekend is I'm going to shoot on-location portraits with a 4x5 camera. So there's going to be a lot of lab time and getting the film processed and scanned. So it's going to be a lot of production on that video. But I hope it's nice. I haven't shot the pictures yet, but I hope we get some nice stuff. And I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for tuning in.